sales is the most lucrative skill in the world, period. The problem is most sales advice out there today is outdated, cheesy, and can even keep you from getting the deals that can make all the difference in your career. This is the No BS Sales School, a podcast for entrepreneurs and salespeople who want to master the skill of selling without all the BS.
One of the questions I'll often ask business owners or VPs of sales when we have a sales conversation is, what are you holding your team accountable for? What are you holding them accountable for doing on a regular basis? And a lot of times, more often than not, I hear things like, well, they have goals every quarter that they need to hit, or they got to hit this, sales targets every month. And I'll say, well, that's cool, but that's not something directly in their control. Right. So it can be very demotivating to be held responsible for results without being held responsible, accountable for what gets you those results. So, and people are like, huh? And I'm like, no. You have to understand what we need to hold people accountable for is doing the behavior. Right. Which means, what are the things that we're doing every single day, every single week, every single month to get new business? And if you're new in the business, whatever business you're in, chances are maybe you're getting some leads. That's great. My theory on leads in sales business is that if you're relying on company leads to make a living, number one, you're easily replaceable. Number two, the best results you'll ever get are going to be mediocre, right, at best. So if your sales manager, if your owner, if you are not holding yourself accountable for the behavior you got to put in, you're probably missing the boat. So let's talk about 5 reasons why it's important to hold your sales team accountable for their behavior, the inputs into sales as opposed to the outputs. Now, don't get me wrong, we can't ignore the outputs, but by that time, anything could have caused those results. Your sales guy is not responsible for those directly. So the number one reason to hold somebody accountable, a salesperson, your sales team accountable for their behavior, is that is in their control. They can do that themselves. There is no, they can decide whether or not they make 50 calls a day, 100 calls a day. God, that sounds like hell, but a lot of people do. They can be held accountable for asking for referrals 5 times a week, twice a month, whatever that is. They can also be held accountable for going to a networking event and at each time finding 2 people that they can talk to about business in the next 48 hours after that, right? Those are directly countable, measurable things that people can be doing on a regular basis. They're within their control, 100% in their control. Number 2, behavior is a leading indicator of results, right? If you're doing more behavior, you're gonna get better results. Now, some of you say, I know I do 100 calls a week and I'm not getting shit and blah, blah, blah. I get that, right? But here's what I'll tell you too. Just think about this like if you're going to get in shape or you're going to lose weight, right? We can just reward you when the pounds come off. Or we can say, hey, let's track how many times you're going to the gym each week, what you're doing at the gym, and also what you're shoving in your pie hole every day, right? That's a much better way to track how things are going to be going than just measuring your weight on the backside or your fat mass or whatever the hell. So behavior is a leading indicator of results. Next, it's a great way to measure effort. You can see the people who are truly working versus those that are not working, right? If you're just measuring behavior, all of a sudden you can begin to see, look who's putting in the effort to get this business, right? Look who's trying to make it work. It develops, this is number 4, it also develops excellent habits for salespeople, right? A great habit for a salesperson is to get accustomed to doing the hard shit, calling people to see if they'll do business with you, asking for referrals. It's also great, for networking events. Again, not just showing up, eating freaking shrimp and drinking somebody else's cold beer, but going there with a business purpose to meet people whom you can call about business in the next business day. By the way, this works great at if you go to trade shows, if you go to these conferences, go there with the idea that I'm going to find 2 or 3, don't make it 10 because it won't be that many, 2 or 3 people that you can call, you can begin a conversation with and say, hey, you know what? You seem like somebody I'd like to talk to more about business later on. You mind if I call you? Right? Get 2 or 3 of those, you're hitting a home run. If you don't have a goal, you'll dick around and hang around with your friends and you won't get anything done. The last reason, or another reason, it ain't ever the last because there's plenty. Another reason to hold people accountable for behavior is that if you're the manager, you get to spot problems sooner rather than later. If they're making the dials and they're not getting appointments, it's in one of 2 things, right? There are 3 things that are important for sales. Number 1 is the actions or behaviors, right? What are they doing on a regular basis to go get new business? If we get that taken care of and they're doing proper action and enough of the action, the next thing we'd have to look for is, what are their beliefs? What are their beliefs about themselves? Do they believe that they're worthy and should be there, right? And then also, what are the feelings about the company? What are the feelings about the marketplace? Do we have some head trash we have to address? Can they talk about money? Do they see themselves as equal participants in this game of sales where they don't feel lower, they feel the same level, right? Do they blame the company? Where are they making excuses? We can identify that first. If we're making calls, not getting results, is it in their beliefs or their attitudes? The last thing, maybe, just maybe, it could be their approach, right? What's the system they're following? How are their questioning strategies? What does their 30-second commercial look like? How are their pattern interrupts? Identify those things, right? But first and foremost, it's the behavior. If you're not doing behavior, there's no way to tell what else is going wrong. So 5 reasons you should be measuring behavior instead of results. Hold people accountable for behavior instead of results. Number 1, it's directly within a salesperson's control. They control that stuff. Number 2, it's a leading indicator of results. Number 3, it's a great way to measure effort. Who freaking wants it versus who else is just freaking mailing it in. It's hard to quiet quit when we're measuring actual inputs. Next, it develops good habits. Any salesperson that knows how to prospect and can do it effectively is worth a ton of money to any company. You want to keep them, other people want to get them. The last thing, it allows you as their manager, as their boss, or even as yourself to identify where are the problems? Why is this not working? I'm Walker McKay with No BS Sales. Keep moving.
Thanks for listening to the No BS Sales School podcast. If you haven't already, please take 1 minute to write a quick review for the show. It really does make a huge difference. Also, subscribe to the show and please forward this episode to somebody else who needs to hear it. As a bonus for listening, I'm going to give you access to a free mini course, 7 expensive sales mistakes you're making and what you can do about it. Go to www.7salesmistakes.com and get access to the free mini course. That's the number 7salesmistakes.com. Thanks again for listening to the OBS Sales School podcast.